Hello everybody, welcome to Filmmaking today. Bojan Dulabic here. So, how good is a 40-plus-year-old Russian lens? Let's find out. This is the Helios 44m-4. This is a vintage lens from the former Soviet Union. This is a very popular vintage lens that gives you amazing oval bokeh in the background. Let's take a look at the details. With this lens you are getting 6 blades, and on the actual lens you have 2 rings. The upper one is for focusing and the lower one is for the aperture. The aperture ring is clickable, however I was able to modify the lens and make it declickable, which works a lot better for video. Now every one of these Helios lenses is slightly different, so instructions will vary in terms of making it declickable. I suggest you do some research online based on your lens. But in most cases the process is simple. You open it up and there's a small ball that you have to remove, and then it becomes declickable. With this lens being a M42 lens, which has a screwable mount, you will have to get an adapter. In my case, I have micro four thirds cameras, so I got this adapter right here, which is a very simple one. There's no optics inside. It's basically just a piece of metal and plastic. And let's take a look at some footage. So here's the lens fully open at f-stop 2, and as you can see in the background, the bokeh is really nice. You get that little oval shape, which looks really awesome. We step down to f4, that obviously changes. Now it's more of an octagon shape, and you are definitely seeing more and more of the background. We stop down to 8, it's much clearer, and the background is much more in focus. And if we step down to f16, which is the highest, you can see how a lot more is in focus. And now you can see that the bokeh in the background was just small LED strips. And here's some more footage. So we're gonna zoom in 400% on this one, and this is wide open at f-stop 2. Here it is at 4, you can see it's a lot more in focus, and then at 8, and then 16, and as you can see the background is getting more and more in focus. Something I would definitely suggest for you to get is a focal reducer. So on the left side here, this is that basically dumb adapter that I'm using for this video. On the right side, that's the focal reducer. Now, a focal reducer will do a lot more. For example, this is a 58mm lens, which on micro four thirds makes it a 116mm. A focal reducer will take that 58 and turn it into a 42, which on micro four thirds will make this an 84mm lens. Now 84mm compared to 116 is much better for portrait photography, and it's just a lot easier to deal with because it's not so much zoomed in. You also get an additional stop of light, which always helps. I will do a separate video on focal reducers. This video, however, was not shot with the focal reducer, it was shot with just a regular adapter, but it is something to keep in mind. And let's take a look at some examples of photos and video that you can get with this lens. So that's it guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. As you can see, this is a pretty sweet lens. Now, first of all, is this the sharpest lens? No, obviously not. You know, at f-stop 2, it can be very soft, especially if you're shooting landscape, you know, something more that's more open and that kind of stuff. It can definitely be soft. If you're shooting product photography, you can, you know, work around it. If you're shooting a close-up, you know, you can work around that. But yeah, it can be very soft, so you might want to stop down to maybe 4 or 5 f-stop, somewhere around there, right? So yeah, for sure, you got to keep that in mind. This is a vintage lens, right? You don't buy those for the for the sharpness. You buy those for the character. You buy those, in this specific case, for the oval bokeh, which is really cool, right? Especially when it is wide open, right? F-stop 2 or 2.5, somewhere around there, right? You'll get this really, really awesome and very interesting bokeh. Another thing to mention, it's not a deal breaker by any means, and this could only be my lens, but when it comes to the focus ring, it is definitely tight, right? So I wish it was a little looser, right? Again, it's not a deal breaker, but something to keep in mind. You might encounter these types of things. It's hard to give an exact review sort of the hardware because each lens will vary, right? I have heard of some people getting them and they're completely useless and others just flawless, right? So, something to keep in mind, but I think generally speaking, you're going to be fine for sure. So that's it, guys. Like I said, I love this lens. I will definitely be using it, especially for my product photography, for videos and that kind of stuff. And yeah, stay tuned. I have videos coming up. My next video will be about the focal reducer that I use in this lens. I talk about it in this video, but it will be in more depth, focal reducer versus just a regular adapter. So that'll be the next video. Then I have a video coming up about cinemorph filters for this lens, which will turn it into a anamorphic lens, right? So stay tuned for that. There's going to be some really cool videos coming up about how to use this lens and vintage lenses and that kind of stuff. So if you enjoyed this video, hit the like button, subscribe to this channel, tell your friends, all that good stuff. Links to everything you saw here will be in the description. They are affiliate links, so every time you use them, it doesn't cost you anything extra, but it helps me, helps the channel. So thank you very much. Stay tuned for more. Thanks.